When I was a teen, I stayed in Salem, Massachusetts, at the infamous Hawthorne Hotel. Not in the haunted room, but we wanted it bad. My mother and I were both taking photos. We did the usual tourist tours around the wax museum, and we ate locally. We went back to the hotel and looked at our pictures, and nearly all of them that were taken at the wax museum came out with white blurs in them. On about our third night in, nothing weird had happened besides that. I decided to go to the library, which is located on the basement floor, to grab a book to read at about 12 a.m. or so. The library was 24/7 at the time. I don't know if it still is. I took the elevator from our floor to the basement. When I stepped in the elevator, it was fairly warm and everything was normal. The elevator dropped to the basement, and everything was still normal. But as soon as the doors opened, they shut immediately in my face, and the elevator got cold quickly. It then went to the main lobby floor and opened there. There was nobody there to get the elevator. I clicked the bottom floor again, and the elevator closed. It was freezing inside now. As soon as I hit the basement, I ran out of the elevator as the doors stayed open, and it was immediately warm again. I grabbed a Tom Clancy book and went back to the elevator. I'm a bit of a masochist, and this was my first truly weird experience. I wanted it to happen again. The elevator was completely warm when I stepped back in. My at-the-time boyfriend and I were staying in an old B&B that was closed for the season out in the boonies somewhere, on the Mass-Connecticut border in the dead of winter. He knew the owner and was between apartments or something. I don't remember exactly. Basically, we were the only two people there one night in the middle of a huge blizzard. And around 2 a.m., we were both woken by a sound coming from outside and above, even though we were on the top floor. We were both absolutely frozen with terror. Both of us grew up in super rural New England and knew all the various weird animal sounds you might hear at night. This wasn't that. It was a kind of wailing. It sounded like pure suffering. It was a sound that moved around outside above the backyard intermittently, for maybe a minute, during which we were too scared and confused to move. And then finally it stopped. We went to the window to look, and the snow had stopped. Everything was absolutely still and clear, in that way that it only gets on the moonlit winter night after a big, windy blizzard is over. We held hands and crept downstairs and outside to the back porch to look around and see if we could see anything. Nothing. Nothing flying around. No animal tracks in the snow. No weird pieces of house that had come loose and been blowing around. No wind at all. Dead still. Hands down the eeriest experience of my life. I am in all other matters totally agnostic, but I genuinely don't know how to explain this situation, using a raised on PBS basic understanding of biology and physics. We booked a quick vacation to Plymouth, Massachusetts in 2012. We stayed at the John Carver Inn from a Sunday until a Wednesday. By Tuesday morning, my wife was noticeably exhausted and didn't want to talk about it. So we were getting ready on Tuesday afternoon to go out to dinner. The door to the bathroom was near the door to the room, separated by a small closet without a door. It only housed an ironing board. I was exiting the bathroom, and I heard talking in the hallway. I didn't think anything of it. I assumed there were people in the hallway. The ironing board rattled on the wall. I thought it was the people I heard talking in the hallway, walking by the wall. Then the doorknob rattled like someone was trying to open the door. I immediately looked out the peephole. I couldn't see anyone. I opened the door. The hallway was empty in both directions. I slammed the door. I was freaked out. I made sure the door was locked and asked my wife if she heard anything. She came over by the closet next to me. The ironing board rattled again on the wall. I assumed it was from my wife walking across the room. Again, we heard the voices. We heard footsteps. And our doorknob rattled, with us both standing there. I jerked the door open and again, empty hallway. We were so freaked out. We ended up checking out a night early, and my wife told me about not being able to sleep the past 2 nights because she kept hearing footsteps, people talking out in the hallway, and the doorknob rattling throughout the night. I researched the hotel on Google and found several very similar stories from other folks who had stayed there. I didn't believe before this, and I certainly can't explain what happened that afternoon. I was at a haunted hotel in Sudbury, Mass, during a camping event. We'd been camping in the field next door, and the hotel was open to the public as dining, with places to hold meetings, and there were even historical rooms on the second floor you could tour. One night, I go to hang out there, while my father and a bunch of our family friends drank in the pub that sat at the entrance. Being a minor, I just sort of wandered off by myself. Something compelled me to go to the second floor. I'm looking around the old bedrooms and such, where there are signs saying people who stay the night often leave notes for a woman in white. A few of the notes were even displayed. Cool. I think nothing of it and wander to the back end of the large open hall, where there was a room off to the right, hidden behind a wall that jutted out. When I passed, I saw a woman sitting in a wing-back chair, watching an older TV on a little wooden table. She had a black and white cat sitting on her lap. She had long hair and was an attractive 30-something. Since I had interrupted, I apologized and quickly backed out of the room. She just nodded and smiled back at me. When I walked out, there were 2 French doors a little further to the left of the hallway, and I was for some reason compelled to go over and stare down the corridor where they led. Not 2 seconds later did I turn my head and the woman was gone, as well as the TV and chair. The cat purred and walked past me. For some reason at the time, I didn't think it weird that someone had a cat just lounging around a historic hotel. Once it had occurred to me, I went straight down to the front desk, telling a disbelieving clerk what had just happened, and that there was a black and white cat upstairs. She just shrugged me off. It was the weirdest thing.
you.